Sorry to interrupt, but we have an amazing super event going on live right here on this channel, October the 14th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I want to see if we can have 100 players defeat the Ender Dragon in hardcore. It'll be live. The stream is scheduled. You can also join the Discord link in the description for updates and some special voice channels and information on how the event is going. I'd love to see as many people there as possible. October the 14th, 11 a.m. Pacific. There's a live stream, so be there because it would be awesome to have you. I'm never going to make another cobblestone generator. By the end of this video, I will finally have the igneous extruder. But I have to admit something to you. I'm not live commentary, Jojo. Yeah, that idiot borked his microphone, so you're stuck with voiceover, Jojo, so here we go. The last steps that we need to do to turn our chromatic compound into igneous extruders involves blowing them up and tossing them into the void. It sounds crazy, but we'll cross those bridges when we get there. For now, I've upgraded the factory a bit between episodes, adding some overflow tanks that we can replace with nullifiers, and these large smokestack things to help with the vials getting stuck and despawning, which didn't actually work. I mean, it kind of helped. My biggest problem, though, is this drawer. It only puts one piece of tar in at a time, slowing the anthracene production down to one at a time. I guess the pusher upgrade only targets the first slot. Well, I had it in my head to use Integrated Dynamics Item Transportation System, which is something I have literally never touched, so instead of testing anything, I crafted up an item export interface and hooked it up to the drawer, slapped a regular interface on the melter, and connected them all up. Should be as easy as adding a variable card to the export all items, and it wasn't. It didn't work. I messed around with the settings and got the drawer to input items from the melter, which would just go right back into the melter because of the pusher upgrade, and I was so confused at what was happening, I didn't even realize that all that was happening was just the opposite of what I wanted, so I got so frustrated at the smoothness of my own brain that I decided to blow something up, so why not my hard-earned compound? Now, I wouldn't just be using any normal bombs for this expensive stuff. No, we're making glowstone bombs, or radiant explosives if you're lame. Instead of destroying blocks, these coat the ground in a godly light that imbues these chromatic ingots with actual divine radiant power. A radiance so brilliant that the items themselves lift off of this mortal plane, reaching for the heavens that they have been graced with. What could be more powerful than these ingots of Elysium? Plastic. But we'll get to that later. After having let off some steam, I had hoped that I would return with more brain wrinkles than before, but no, I was still dumb. I figured if an export cable didn't work, an import cable surely would. So I went and made one and put it on the melter, hoping to input into the melter, but it had the same effect as the export cable when it was on the drawer. Turns out, integrated dynamic cables don't work like item pipes like I thought they did. They act as a network. So, the export interface exports items from the network, not from the inventory it was attached to, and similarly, the input interface input items to the network. By adding an item interface on the melter, I added it to the network, hence the items moving from the melter into the drawer the first time, and when I switched to the input interface, I just accomplished the first issue, but backwards. After some fumbling around, I finally figured it out and just moved the interfaces around, and our anthracene was melting thrice as fast, and my brain was twice as wrinkled. Also, during all that, I noticed one of my vials was missing, and I got to showcase an odd issue with the anthraquinone conversion. Sometimes the vial would just jump out of the tube and land on the processing belt for empty vials, get thrown into the sulfuric acid, and then just sit there until it despawned. Feeling proactive, I did nothing whatsoever to fix this. Now, before we can make the radiant mechanisms, I wanted a stack of shadow steel to double our returns, and we needed some time to replenish our compound stock. So while we wait, why not do a Q&A of the day from the Discord, as always, coming in from Dongles, a premium Q&A, asking what my Dream Create mod add-on would be. Definitely something that used clockwork, right? Tiny gears and springs used to make custom mechanisms. You'd make them in a little GUI, and you'd be used to upgrade or create unique things, like you could upgrade your potato cannon into just a gun or whatever, and the quality of the mechanism would be based on the engineering you put into it. That just sounds so cool to me. Still needing some more time, I decided to be productive and get our plastic production schmoving along. I don't think this is something that we need to have fully automated right now, so I'm more than happy to do it manually, and luckily, since we made LPG a while ago, it wouldn't even be that bad. Speaking of LPG, I ended up needing to destroy a ton of diesel since it backed up and stopped producing LPG, and the dreams of having a nullifier filled my brain once more. We are so close. I swear, everything becomes easier soon. But with the blockage fixed, we could get onto the plastic stuff. In order to make molten plastic, all you need is a thermopneumatic processing plant, some way to make pressure like our lovely air compressors, a big old heat source like a blaze burner full of diesel, LPG, and some coal. I know that the biodiesel route, which uses charcoal, is easier to automate, but as I said, I don't think this needs much automation, and as you can see, you get a ton of plastic from this process, and coal isn't too hard to get our hands on. In order to move the molten plastic around, I emptied out a spare fluid cell, but before I could capture that plasticky goodness, I realized a bunch of my vials were missing. Again, they had jumped up to the top of the smokestack, and again, I didn't do anything to fix it. It was now time to set up the processing line for the plastic mechanism, which needs us to process plastic sheets as well. Both of these processes need a spout, and I was fresh out of sealed mechanisms and any rubber to make them. Truth is, I left the rubber factory at my old base and just forgot to move it. Also, I had no idea where my old base was, since my map data keeps getting resetted. Resetted? Why did I type that? But after some running around, we found the nostalgia base with a tiny bit of rubber waiting for us. I ended up chunk loading it with FTP chunks. I have no idea if that works in this pack, but I guess it's worth a shot, and I headed home to make my spouts. And believe it or not, I actually made a dedicated mechanism crafting line instead of using the one at Chapter 1, complete with deployers, spouts, and presses. I even set up the spouts so that I could just place the fluid cell between them and it would split the plastic between the two. Also, turns out leaving coal in the thermopneumatic processing plant turns it into coke and creosote oil. The oil was annoying since I didn't want it, but the coke was actually needed to make steel for the best armor set in the entire game, so that was cool. And amazingly, the time it took to do all that was exactly the time that was needed to replenish a stack of chromatic compounds and to break that stupid machine again. It happened again. But we would need to travel to the end to create the shadow steel, and I was low on Rendingale power, so it was time to pluck some chickens. However, it seemed like Arcane Engineering was in a trolling mood because it started playing ghast sounds right in my ear. I mean, you look at my mouse, you can physically see how terrified I was of a ghast being in my base. And to make it worse, the second I opened up my storage system, it played a creeper sound. It scared the crap out of me. After that fiasco, I hitched a ride on a nearby waystone, which I think you can pick up now, but I was way too scared to try it, and scrambled around trying to find the entrance to the end portal again. Soon, we should be able to make a time machine that can craft waystones, but for now, we must Rendingale. Once inside the end, the shadow steel is as easy to make as violating your natural instincts and tossing your very expensive chromatic compound right into the void, where it will rise again, renewed by the dark powers as shadow steel. This makes it so that we get a 2 times yield from our chromatic compound. In fact, a stack of refined radiance and shadow steel makes 2 stacks of radiant mechanisms, which is 16 machines. Last few steps, we need to press our refined radiance into nice little sheets, and I really have no idea what I was saying here. Probably that you should like subscribe or something. Like only if you want to or whatever. To combine the radiant sheets and the shadow steel, we needed mechanical crafters, and I figured to automate them quick and easy, I'd use a mechanical hand, some filtering press funnels, and some depots, and boom, just like that, we had radiant induction coils flowing right out of our factory, 4 at a time. The finishing touch on a radiant mechanism is called a resonator, which I'm pretty sure is just a regular magnet. Fun fact, since we don't need to magnetize the iron ingots while crafting the magnet, we can assume that the iron ore found in the depths of this world is magnetite, which is a magnetic ore of iron, meaning that Minecraft could actually be in Michigan, Eastern Canada, or Northern Sweden. So screw the mob vote, which of these 3 places do you think Minecraft is going to be in? Vote in the comments. Ooh, fun fact number 2, iron ore and lodestones are actually redundant because a lodestone is just magnetite, which is iron ore. Oh, and fun fact number 3, I propped a stack of precision mechanisms, and once those were ready, we created our first radiant mechanisms, finally completing chapter 2. By making a radiant machine, we unlocked the plastic chapter, and it was time to complete that too. The first step to plastic machines is getting our plastic sheets gooed up nice and good, and since we'd already done all of our prep work before, the plastic mechanisms just rolled right in. But we didn't complete the chapter, which bugged the hell out of me, so I spent some time picking up random buckets of fluid in order to progress the quest lines to get all of our rewards, which I will open in the next video if I remember. With plastic mechanisms crafted and some zinc casings awarded by the chapter, I could finally create something more powerful than gods and turtles, plastic machines. All I had to do to complete my goal was combine the machine with a piston, and man, I wish you could have heard me. I was so happy. The igneous extruder was ours! Gone are the days of laggy cobble gens. Now all I have to do is place the extruder down, put lava and water on either side of it, and there you go. 1 cobble a second. Oh, but you're thinking that's not enough cobble. You're thinking that's not enough cobble. Just make another plastic machine and combine it with a single piece of redstone, and you get resonant integral components that superpower the extruder permanently, making it run 4 times as fast. That's 1 stack of cobblestone every 16 seconds, and we can make as many of these as we want. Oh, and if you're thinking there must be some divine punishment for the blasphemy of covering the god's divine power in plastic, you'd be right, because chapter 4 looks like the Christian hell. I know this video was a lot shorter than normal, and I appreciate you guys for bearing with me. The audio recording issue is a big deal, and I'm actually sick. This has been a very difficult thing to record, so I'm gonna have to cop out on you guys, but the next episode hopefully should be a normal length.